Look, you won't like me for reminding you of this, but you were in that last England side that lost to Scotland back in 1999. Sorry for bringing that up, but
I think we won the tie, didn't we?
You won the tie, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, you won 2-1 on aggregate, didn't you? So thank you for pointing that out. But it shows how rarely you guys play, and it shows how long ago it is since Scotland have beaten England. Since then, is this as good a Scotland side now as you've seen since then?
I'd have to think about all of them, but this is a very good Scotland team. There's no question about that. I think Steve's done a brilliant job. I really like Steve. He's a very understated guy, but he's a real competitor and he's an excellent coach. So he's done a brilliant job with the team. They have some very good players and they're on a really good run. So full of confidence. It's a great game tomorrow night.
It's a friendly. But can this fixture ever be considered a friendly?
Well, I don't think any international football match is. In the end, you're trying to test yourself. You're representing your country. You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to learn as a team. So they're all fixtures at the highest level. And it's an old-fashioned term, really, isn't it?
Kieran, over to you. From a player's perspective, as I say, you don't get to play Scotland very often. But do you have to treat this game in exactly the same way as if it was a tournament game, for example?
No, of course you do. I think every single international game is always a competitive game, friendly or not. We know the history of England, Scotland, and a game that we're really excited about. And obviously, you have to take every game serious. So tomorrow's going to be a good game and one that we're looking forward to.
You'll probably be aware that Scotland can qualify for the Euros tomorrow night, not because of what's happening here, but because of Georgia against Norway. They'll be the first nation to qualify, potentially, and they had a group with Spain and Norway in it, so no doubt in the quality. Does that provide you an extra bit of motivation from an England player's perspective to try and be the party poopers?
For me personally, my motivation, I know my teammates, is every time we represent our country is to win. We play Scotland, it's going to be a good game, one that we're excited about, but we can't control what's happening, if they qualify or not. But, we just need to work hard, and tomorrow, we need to get the win.
And Gareth, last one from me. Look, we talked to you a lot about the issue of dual nationality, and you've always said it's a very sensitive one, and you don't like to put any pressure on any player to make that important choice. But you'll be aware there's discussions about the international futures of both Harvey Barnes and Elliot Anderson right now. It's possible, I guess, that they could swap international allegiances. So what are your thoughts on those two and their situations?
Well, both very good players. In terms of Harvey, he's obviously a player who has played for us. We've got a lot of competition in that area of the pitch, so he's a player we're always monitoring, and he's a player we like a lot. With Elliot, again, I think he's a player that has progressed really well. We've previously spoken with him, but of course he was named in the squad here, so assumed that was that. But I thought he had an excellent pre-season with Newcastle as well. You could see that evolution that he's got as a young player and the potential that he's got. I know at Newcastle they rate him very highly. So, I don't know the answer to the ultimate question for either player, but there are going to be more and more of these sorts of situations. There are so many players with dual or triple nationality now. It is very complicated for every country, and sometimes you can't offer the player something as quickly as they'd like. So we've benefited from it, and we've lost players because of it, and I think that's always going to be the case, really.
Hi, Gareth. With the occasion tomorrow, is the main decision to play the experienced players who will be used to the occasion, be able to deal with it, or put the young players in to get a gauge of where they're at?
Yeah, we've got to find the right balance of physical freshness. We've had a day less preparation, experience, finding out about some players, winning, playing well. So the usual things that are expected of us with England, really. But I think the first thing is we can't fiddle around with the team because we're playing a top-level side who are going to be at full tilt and giving us a really high-level challenge. So you can't overly experiment because that would be ridiculous.
And after the Ukraine match, I was just wondering what you made of the reaction to the result, considering you're top of the group and unbeaten. Did you think it was fair?
I haven't seen it. So the reaction for us is we're top of the group. I think we're the top scorers in Europe. The boys did a really good job in a difficult environment, and we know that our attacking play didn't quite click. I think some of that was the surface, really, because to make those really incisive, quick passes, at times you just needed a little extra touch, or there was a little bobble. So I'm very conscious I wasn't going to be too harsh on my internal review of the players, because you could see moments when we're watching it back where ball pops over a player's feet, or he goes to play a ball first time and it lofts in the air. Equally, that wasn't the case with everything that we did. So we're always challenging. We want to be better and better, and we've got to set a high standard. So we weren't as happy coming away with the point as we might have been, but it's still a really good result. We saw what happened in our group later that night in terms of, when we beat North Macedonia, people were questioning the quality that they had and the standard of the opposition, but Italy went there and couldn't get the win. So we kind of know the cycle, frankly, with England. I've been in the job long enough now. It's constant, it's never ending. But we have to really focus internally on what's important for us, review to our own standards, review and make sure that we know what we're working towards and what we're comparing ourselves against, really.
Hey Gareth, just going back to Scotland, previously you were praising the job that Steve Clarke's done here. Obviously he was in charge when you met at the Euros down in Wembley. How do you think the Scottish team's improved since then, if you think it has improved at all? Where would you say so?
Well, I thought they were excellent that night. I think, like all teams, as you work for longer, you get more experiences together. You go through big nights together, successes, disappointments. So they'll have grown through that. The individual players have got more experience of big matches, and they've got the confidence from some big results, particularly recent games. So, and especially strong here at Hampden. So I really like the formation of the team, the tactics, the individual players. I think it's a very good job that Steve and John have done.
And just going back to the fixture itself, Rob was touching on you as a player, but I just wanted to ask about you as a boy. What was your first memory of this game, and what do you think the rivalry, what does it mean to you?
Well, my first memory is some of your mates nicking the goalposts at Wembley. So I'm back to 77. When I was growing up, there was only the FA Cup final and the home internationals that were live on television, so it was the only game we saw, really. I actually was, this is horrendous what I'm going to say here ahead of tomorrow, but I was supporting Scotland in 1978 because obviously we hadn't qualified. So I kind of followed that through the trauma of Peru and the Netherlands. And then we were back in 82, and all of a sudden, for me then onwards, it was all about England. But great fixtures. I've met so many of the former players over the years. Worked with some of them, played with some of them. So it's a fabulous game. It's a great. I know there's a rivalry, and I know people will be wary of it crossing a boundary, but it's a brilliant sporting rivalry, and it's a great game to be involved in.
Steve Clarke earlier today described this as a competitive friendly where bragging rights are at stake. Is that how you see tomorrow night's match?
No, we see it as a really good test of us as a team. We learn a lot about the group, the individuals within it. You're playing a very high-level opponent in a really intimidating atmosphere, and they're the sorts of nights that have been an important part of our progress over 6-7 years. Some of the guys have experienced that, some won't, and so it's going to be great to find out a bit more about them, but also a challenge we've got to head towards. We've got to walk into these challenges and relish them, because we've got huge ambition as a team, but we've got a lot of work to do. And what we have got is a great spirit. So we have to always remind ourselves we're all about the team, and we've got to show that tomorrow night.
And you mentioned relishing this atmosphere tomorrow night. How important will managing emotions be for your players tomorrow?
Well, always. You've got to compete, because we get rolled over if we don't compete, but you've always got to get the ball down and play. And so you've got to find the right balance emotionally, physically. You've got to control those emotions without a doubt, but you know that everything around you is going to be at a really high level, and the tempo of the game will be high, I would imagine. So we're prepared for that, and we've got to make sure that we're a very good version of ourselves.
And last one from me, it's a bit of a gear change. What's your reaction to Rubiales? Do you think the amount of time it took him to stand down sends a damaging message to the game of football, and especially to women's place in the game?
Has he gone?
He resigned last night. Yeah.
Right. I didn't. I've been watching videos of Scotland, talking to players. I don't come out of my bunker during the camp, so I don't know what he said or what the decision is really.
Gareth, you said just then that you want this occasion to be a chance to learn more about your group. Could you just elaborate a little bit more about what you are hoping to learn from this friendly? And is centre-back, is that an area where you might experiment, or where you've got a particular focus on?
Well, we play against a team with a different tactical problem for a start. As I said, the two games we've had back-to-back, we spoke to the players at the beginning of the week. Really passionate home support, so you're dealing with that. That's a little bit different to finals, where you're on a neutral venue, but a great judge of character. You see how people respond in those environments, and a match against good players. So on every level, it's a great challenge for us.
And Kieran, if I could just ask one to you. We spoke about Elliot Anderson just there. He's obviously a player that you know well. Have you spoken to him at all about potentially coming to play for England? And however the situation pans out, what do you make of his potential as a player?
Yeah, as the gaffer said before, in pre-season he's been unbelievable. I think it was good for him last year to stay with us and not go out on loan again, to gain that experience. And he's a young lad, with great potential. Obviously, we've had talks, but like Gareth said before, he went away with Scotland. But ultimately, that's his decision. He's a young lad with great potential, so that decision's ultimately up to him.
Question for Kieran as well, please. Kieran, there's a kind of perception that Scotland-England means more maybe to the people of Scotland, the Scotland players, than it does to the English. As a player, do you go along with that, or will you be as desperate to win this game as the Scottish lads will be?
Of course. This is football. We want to win every game. Coming to places like this, it was my very first camp when, the team played there, and the atmosphere, and I got the taste of what this game means to us players, us as supporters, and as a nation. And I've got the opportunity to be here again. So, but no matter who we're playing against, and of course Scotland, it's going to be a good game. An entertaining game, and every game that we enter, we want to win. So, we play Scotland tomorrow, and we want to win.
Any further questions? James. Sorry, James, use the microphone just behind you there.
Thank you. Kieran, you turned 33 later this month. Have you thought about how long you might think about going on to play for England? Could this potentially be your last tournament next summer?
I don't think about that. I feel great. Playing at a high level. It's never crossed my mind, when I think I'm going to finish, or international, or whatever it may be. I know the competition I'm up against. My thought process throughout my whole career is give my best, and that's all I can do. So whenever I'm called upon, I give my all for my club and my country. If I play, if I don't play, you know, I've got to support the players around me, so that's never once crossed my mind. If it's my last maybe tournament or whatever it may be, I just need to keep performing, keep doing well, and see what happens in the future.
The manager's revealed he's talked Kyle Walker out of international retirement. I'm sure you respect him as a teammate, but it's probably made a bit harder for you to get into the team, right?
I don't look at it like me and Walks have a great relationship, and Trent, Reece, and there's a lot of other young right backs coming through. Me and Walks have known each other since the under-19 Euros when we went to Ukraine together. We played at Tottenham together, we played at England together. But the good thing about it is we're probably the closest, you know, in the group. You know, we've known each other a long time, so there's never any bitterness or anything like this. It's all supportive. If I'm playing, he's playing. We're always helping each other. We're always pushing each other on, and this is a competition that you want, you know, to better yourself. But yeah, there's never any negativity. It's always positive. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.